Tony Ferguson needs to retire. Made a video yesterday breaking down that whole Abu Dhabi card and I talked a lot about Tony Ferguson. I talked about him retiring. I didn't realize how animated I got about it that I have to make a video retouching on this. Tony Ferguson got on the mic after his fight, by the way, competitive maybe for 1 minute in that fight against a guy that has been retired for 1 year, came back, just got a hold of his body, took him down, and that was the beginning of the end. It was not, didn't look like encouraging for Tony Ferguson. It didn't look like Tony Ferguson can win more fights. It didn't look like Tony Ferguson is a top elite guy that can win a belt. In fact, Tony Ferguson can't win another fight at the top level. Someone needs to sit Tony Ferguson down and tell him, you cannot win another fight at the top level. It just can't happen, right? We get it, the fans love you, right? But you gotta relax, man. You gotta think about your health. You gotta think about your future, right? That's all so important. Tony Ferguson, after his match, got on the mic, said, I don't know if this is it for me. I want to talk to my family, which hopefully his family tells him he's done. Hopefully he sees a doctor that tells him he should be done. And I know the UFC is going to tell him he's done, right? He said he doesn't know he's done, so he's going to throw one glove into the middle. That tells me that's not I don't want to retire. They're telling me I need to retire. The UFC is telling me I want to retire because he said I'm not done. But I don't want to fight anywhere else besides the UFC. The UFC ain't resigning him. I will be shocked if the UFC resigns him. I think Dana White said openly that he wants to see Tony Ferguson retire. I think that is what Dana White's going to tell Tony Ferguson to do. Tony Ferguson right now could probably call up PFL tomorrow and get a contract for the next season. And he'll main event every card for them. I mean, I don't think he'll win a fight for them. It's going to be like another Anthony Pettis situation. But he can probably call them up and main event a card for them any day of the week, anytime he wants. And probably get into the league next year. That's not good, right? I don't think anyone out there should be cheering that, should be applauding that, seeing that guy get in the ring the octagon and fight anymore. It's a little scary at times, honestly. He had a great career, right? And I know the whole what would have been if he went and fought Khabib. It's a big fight when he was in his prime. It's a big fight that never happened, right? And I think he's trying so hard to relive that, to get back to that. And it's just not feasible at this point. I mean, I know he went up to a weight class 170, but you've lost pretty much every fight you've had in the last 4 fights, right? 5 fights. It's getting worse, right? It's not getting better. His competition's getting worse and worse, and yet he's still losing, right? So that's not good, right? At all. Not good at all. So someone needs to sit him down, tell him he's done, tell him the UFC's not signing him. Hopefully don't get him in contact with the PFL, because then obviously his agent will. The agent will get paid, right? I think the fans convinced him to unretire. I think he was going to retire, and then the fans showered him with love. They were chanting his name or whatever. They were applauding him. They were telling him that they love him. And immediately after, I saw an interview no, it's not time yet. I'm not done yet. I'm still going. I got more to do. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm capable of, or the whole spiel he gave. It's not going to be in the UFC. I could tell him that. It's not going to be in the UFC. I would be stunned if he returns in the UFC. If he decides he wants to fight in the PFL, he's going to fight in the PFL. I don't even know the other organizations. He could probably find another one he could fight in. That's a big get for another organization. And they'll give him cupcakes, probably, to make sure he wins. We better not see Tony Ferguson in an octagon again. He better retire. I'm Josh Wesley.